Thank you very much, and I'm very happy to be here and finally meet all of you again. It's very, I have really been looking forward to this for several years. So I made a presentation last year that was a pre-recorded thing that you can see, and I will link to it in a little bit. My name is Søren Teilgaard. I'm coming from Denmark, and I've been participating in this conference before. I can be contacted in various places, and for all of you trying to take notes or anything, Patrick will be publishing all of these things here, and I will also show you references for Installomator. So I'm coming from Envo IT, and we are located in Copenhagen in Denmark, and we are basically an MSP that lives by servicing our customers and managing all their computers. And we are pretty proud that we are also planting trees for whenever you buy a new Mac. We will plant 10 trees, and if you buy an iPhone or an iPad, we plant 1 tree, and also for the MSP customers, we plant 1 tree per user per month. So we have planted a lot of trees and still continue to do that with that growing trees network that we have here. So MacSysAdmin has been going along for many, many years. I found this old photo that I have from 2007, which was the first MacSysAdmin conference, and I really have to say, it has come a long way. We were here in Nya Varvet, outside of Gothenburg, and it was too much outside. And I think that the people that was there taking a cab for a long time to get into the city to do something, and then back here again, because we were actually. I clicked the wrong button. Sorry about that. People that were on this conference were actually sleeping just nearby, so it was happening in this building block in the front there, and then we slept in those yellow buildings in the back. So now we are spread all over the city and all that, so But it's great to be back, and it's great to see you all, and let's continue a little bit. There is another thing that was talked about, why we talk a lot about bananas, but there has also been other topics up on this conference, and I will just return one of them because it has been a little connected to Denmark, and it was brought up by this guy that has been on the stage before, and maybe you remember him. He can do a lot of fun up here, so I try to let me inspire by him. I will not have a full orchestra or anything up here, but but he figured out that there was some kind of dispute about Hans Island, and Hans Island, that is a little small thing located between Greenland and Canada, and nobody really know who actually this island would belong to. And it was also called some kind of whiskey war. I will show you a later picture here that was not about whiskey for Denmark. It was about gammeldansk, which is a bitter kind of a thing. So, but if you know where Greenland is, you have Hans Island in the middle of this, and it's very small. And obviously this is a very, very nice place you can see. So why wouldn't you want to have that island? So, or maybe they want the stuff that is beneath it. But it was settled, so not too long ago, and this was also actually written about in the Max Slack channel for this conference about this. So, but here you can also see the gammeldansk. So it is this kind of thing. Well, good. Another thing, people have made fun of Danish, and I don't know why that should be anything that you would take up, so I just want to try to point out that we have been thinking about the climate and things like that when we are footprinting with our language, and I will give you an example. So for instance, in Swedish, they have a word for ice cream, and they have in Danish, we would say the same word for glasses, and I know it's a bit late, so I couldn't show you empty glasses, right? So they have glass for ice cream, and glass for glasses. And in order to know the different pronunciations of this word, they would put 1 or 2 S's in the end. And we actually have words like that in Danish. Not many Danes know about this, but I know because my Swedish better half at home have been telling me about this. And you actually do the same thing in Danish. But in Danish, we don't have that double S then. So we would just, skip that. And, can you see how we are saving ink here? So we just remembers how to pronounce things. We don't know why the rules are like that. Sometimes the A is pronounced something, sometimes it's another thing. So for instance, we have a word in Danish, and it can be mentioning of a lighthouse. It can also be the heater that you have in your house, in your basement. It can be a pine wood tree, and it can be a guy. And to save more ink, we made that word very short. So here you go. And we are pronouncing it differently. All right. So let's get to what my topic is really about. And we will be talking about Installomator. From the presentation of when you read about this conference, it was more about automating things. We are automating things with Installomator, but I will try to get into some kind of troubleshooting a little bit more this time. So let me see some hands. Is there anybody in here that do not know what Installomator is and do not use it? How many in here? Yeah, there's somebody. How many in here is using Installomator? That's quite a lot. Wow, I'm pretty, yeah, that's good. So that was the next question. So good. So on the agenda for today, we will talk a little bit about what Installomator is. I will get back to that, and we will be downloading the latest release to make sure that we have done that. We will see a flowchart of how Installomator is actually working, and we will be looking at labels and some variables, and then some log output. Good. So Installomator was made by Armin Briegel, and we will be seeing more to him tomorrow. And he wrote it like the installation script to rule them all. So it was inspired by other scripts, but basically what we do is that we install the latest version of any given software. So if we support that software, we try to figure out where the latest version is and then download that and install that. It's written in C Shell, and you can find the repository here. And we have a channel on Slack, on MacAdmin Slack, and we are pretty helpful there. So you get a lot there. And I want everybody to know that what we call a label, that is referring to the kind of recipe that we have for how to figure out where this software is stored on the web, and what latest version it is, and what name it has, and something like that, and how to handle it when we have to install it. So, but I will show a few labels, and then you will know about that. So there's also some scenarios of why you would not want to use Installomator, because if your organization needs to approve the software that you have to send out, if this is the version that we have to test and approve, and then we can send it out, then you cannot use Installomator, because you will not know what version it is that you are sending out, because it's always the latest one. So if it is, it has to be a specific version, it has to be an earlier version, something like that, we cannot do that. If your network is blocking, for instance, github.com, then at least it would be bad to use the labels that are using GitHub. But it could also be other sites that are blocked like that. It could also be that it's just in general not allowed for your users to contact all kinds of sorts of websites here and there, and it will maybe give a lot of different logs for why they are accessing a lot of different places on the net. All right, so how can I learn more about Installomator? And I want to just show what we have been presenting. Armin Briegel did the first presentation back in 2021, and it can be still seen here. It's on YouTube now. It was on JNUG, and I did a pre-recorded video session on JNUG last year, and it has now also been moved to YouTube. And I did the video presentation here, and this is probably the best beginner session that we have, the one from last year that I did for MacSysAdmin. You can go to the macsysadmin.se and find it there very easily. So, yeah, for Installomator, we basically have two kinds of MDMs. We have Jamf Pro on one side, and Jamf Pro takes the entire Installomator script and put it into the repository, and then we can create a policy and push this out to install these things. And then basically you can say that I saw this script and came along, and I wanted it to be used in other MDMs, and at least I know that we are supporting Addigy and Intune, Kandji, Mosyle, and Workspace ONE. And all of these cannot have the full Installomator script inside the MDM solution. We have to have it installed on the client and then call it with a smaller script from the MDM solution in order to install our software. Then we also lately have gotten FileWave. And FileWave is part of the big script, but not on the MDM scripts. But I'm not sure what side I have to put FileWave on yet. So if somebody knows something about FileWave, we are very interested in knowing where it belongs. I think it belongs in the category that also needs the MDM scripts, so on the right side here. But let's see. All right, let's try to find the latest version of this software. I have to see that you can see something. Good. All right, so we are on the Installomator GitHub page, and a lot of people know how to navigate GitHub, and not everybody actually knows it fully. So for instance, I know this is very small, but I'm just on github.com/Installomator/Installomator. So this is just the main page that you will see, and a lot of people will go in and click on the code button here, the green code button, and then download whatever it is there is in the repository. And this is actually not the correct way to do it. We actually have to look down at releases. So when we support a specific version, you have to download it from releases, because whatever is in the current repository can be a beta of the next version. It might not work, something got broken, whatever it is, so we actually don't know. So what we are doing when we are downloading the latest release, we could click on releases here. You can see all the various releases. You could also click on just the latest release, and when we do that, we can see the PKG. This is the one that we need in order to install it on the clients. If we are using everything else, then just Jamf Pro, and then we can also have the source code if we want to do that. So I will download the source code. Here it is. Good. So the source code is this. Come on. I need to present a little smaller window and eventually make you able to see what is in this folder. Here it is. Good. So the structure, this is too small, I guess. So The structure of the folder is that we have the fragments folder. This is actually the script split up into a lot of smaller script parts. And then we have the full Installomator script placed here. And there is an MDM folder. The MDM folder is for the MDM scripts. And we do have some helping scripts for Jamf Pro, but also for all the other MDMs that we support. And then we have a utilities folder, which is for building a new version of Installomator or building labels and things like that. And I will refer to my earlier presentations about that. So this was downloading the latest version and looking at that. Installomator is this script here. So that's basically it. If you wanted to use the full Installomator script, you will copy this script and put it into your MDM. Good. That didn't work out too well, because I need to zoom this screen back. All right, so the first thing to know and make sure everybody knows is that if you're installing Installomator locally on a machine, then it will be located in this folder, in this place. If it is running, it will log to a specific log file, and this is the default log file that we are using. And when you call Installomator, you will call Installomator, give it a label name, and then put some variables that we can send to it. And we can also now send variables that would override the variables that are in a label. So I will be showing you how the labels are working and all that. So it will make more sense a little bit later. All right, let's take a look at how the entire flow of data and things is going on in Installomator. So we call Installomator from either Jamf Pro or any other MDM with the mechanisms that we have there for that. And Installomator will start up, and it will start to load all the functions that it has, and then it will take the label as the first argument that is sent to it. After that, we will load the label settings that are in Installomator, and then we will load all the other arguments that we have sent to the script. And that is why that we can override the variables that was in the label itself, because we are loading all the other arguments later on. Then we'll be setting up how the logging mechanism should work, how detailed it should be, and we have various levels of logging here. And then we start to figure out what to do with this kind of software. We have a variable that can handle applications that should not be disturbed. So if this is Zoom or Teams or some other application that is running, and the user is actually in a meeting or something like that, should we disturb this app or not? We can help that with a variable. I will get back to which one it is. So if we should not disturb it, we will just exit out. But if we should disturb, then we will go continue with this installation and figure out what type of software it is, and then we will figure out what installed version there are of this software. And for this installed version, I want to make sure that you know that for some of these labels, we use a variable called package ID, and that will actually look for the receipt of a previously installed package. So if this previous installed application was installed with a package, and our label is looking only for the package receipt, we will not reinstall your app if you have just removed the app alone and not forgotten about this receipt. So a receipt has to be forgotten. It's a forget command. So if you didn't remove that receipt, then Installomator will think, well, it's already installed. So I just want to say that to be aware of that. But then we are using this app new version variable that we usually have in our labels to figure out what the newest version of this software is. And if that new version is different from the installed version, and we have not tried to figure out if it is later or earlier or anything else, it's just different. If it is not different, we will go out to the right, and then we will figure out another variable that we have, install equals force. If we have said, we need to forcefully install this version, then we will go down and download the archive, and if there is no forced installation, then we will notify the user. That is a little dot here, and then we will go down to exit. So back to the app new version. If there actually is a new version or the variable has not been set, we will continue to see if there is some kind of update tool that we have set in, that is another label, another variable we can put in the label. And if the update tool has been called, then we will run the update tool, and then we go down exiting out. So then Installomator is not doing much actually. But other than that, we don't use the update tool, then we download whatever it is that we need to download. Good. After download, we will look at what kind of handling will we be using if the app is already running for the user. So the user is already running whatever Office application it could be or something like that. And should we just present it? Should we kill this process, quit it? How are we trying to get the user to update? So that will be handled there. And then eventually, it seems that various distributors of software have chosen various ways of doing that. So we have 7 different ways of handling software. And basically, there is only either an app or a PKG, but the PKG can be installed in a DMG, and some even compresses the DMG when they put it on the website. So we have various handlings for all of these scenarios. But in the end, we end up having an app to be copied into the application folder or a PKG to be installed. And after the download, and we have figured out if it's an app or a PKG, we will again figure out what version was it that came down here. And if that version is the same as the installed version, then we do not install. But if it is a new version, then we will go to installation, and if it's an app that we copy in, then we will handle some app ownership of that app. All right, so now we are done with the hard part here. We also notify the user about this. Then we will be looking at what version was actually installed, because sometimes it installed a different version that we thought was the latest one. So at least the user can know that, and we are also logging that. And if you wanted a notification, you will get that there. And if you're asking the user to quit the app, then we can reopen the app again. And after that, we clean up the temporary items and things like that and exit out. So this is really how all the script is working out. So just an overview picture of this, because in the end of the presentation, when we look at the logs, it makes some sense as to where in the log is this happening in the script. So this flow diagram could be helpful for that. Good. Let's take a look at some labels. This is a doc-util, and I use that at least in a lot of managed solutions in order to figure out what kind of items we would like to add to the doc. And this kind of this label here has a specific name, and it is of type PKG, so it's just the PKG that we are downloading directly. And here we are using the package ID. So we will use the package ID to figure out what version it has. And the download URL is used in a function because we can download it directly from GitHub inside Installomator. App new version, it has been, it's because all the gray variables here are mandatory in the label. The other colored ones are not mandatory. They're optional. But we really, really recommend, if you are building your own label, to include the app new version, because that is a very important thing for a lot of solutions to know what the latest version is. We also need the expected team ID, and that is actually the developer that has signed the software. And when we include it here, we will verify the software before installation that it is actually from this developer that it should be. And then the label can also handle how we are handling this blocking process action. So if there is none, like it is here, then it will not find any running app, and it will not do anything. So no matter what blocking process action we have been selecting, for docutil nothing would happen, and it will just install the PKG on top of it if there was a new version. A label can be much longer and more complex than this one. It can be like the one here from Microsoft Office. This also has a name, and we are also using a package ID here. We have a download URL, we have app new version, so it knows what version it is and can compare it to the package ID that was already installed. And then we also have an if procedure there for this part here in the middle. And basically it is that because we have an update tool process, and sometimes this MS update tool does not really run as it should. So if we are likely to use this one, then we would make sure that we have used MS update with a parameter of list, because that will initialize it better when it is being told to just update with this install parameter here. So this is also a little bit of trial and error in some of these, but it's just to show that the label can be longer or shorter in sometimes, yeah. Then I would like to show you a label that has been broken now, and not many people here are probably using Soho WorkDrive TrueSync, but at least when I made this label, I knew that this was actually the download link that I found back then, but I thought that this strange number, maybe they will change that. And this is just a pure guessing from when you do this. You know, how are they actually working in this company to show me this? So I thought it was better to try to figure out the structure of the web page where I download the software, so I can always grab that URL again. But what they did was they didn't actually change the download URL, they changed the website. So this label broke, and the download URL is not working. So what can I do? I can actually still use this label. I will just give it an extra parameter, an extra argument, and say the download URL is actually what I have already found previously. So I can use this still, and then I can publish a pull request and get it into the next version. Good. We are currently working on Installomator version 11. Last year we sent out Installomator 10 and had some new stuff in that. And we have added new features along the way. And for what I understand is that not everything was, some of it was by chance or something. We usually only put labels in and maybe minor things, but we have added two new variables that we can use, and I will get back to those. So, but we will hopefully improve some proxy detection in version 11. So if your GitHub, for instance, is blocked and it is showing ASCII characters, then we have had some bad ways of exiting, because we are trying to mount this as a DMG, even though it's an ASCII web page that was only served to us, and we cannot mount it, and you get some strange kind of errors in the script when it has run in those cases. And then we have also, or I have mostly improved the MDM scripts, and I will show you those a little bit later. Good. Let's take a look at the variables that we have that we can send to Installomator. We have a wiki page, and we really try to encourage to look at the wiki page for the help, and this is the direct link to the wiki page for all these variables. So what I will go through them here, and you can also see them on the wiki page, and we are trying to update all the wiki pages, really. So, so these are the things that we will take a look at now. We have the debug variable, and it is very important to know that when you have the full version of the script, it is actually, it has debug set to 1. So in the full version of the script, debug is actually on, so it will not install anything at all until debug is set to 0. So that is a part down. It can be found out if you are installing Installomator locally on a Mac with this script or the PKG that we have. Debug is 0 at that in that package. Good. We have another debug level for 2, and that is basically to run it as you are an ordinary user and not root, so it's a little bit different, but if you are testing out how to make your own label, it can be useful with these 2 different debug levels. That is why we have them. So if you are testing something else out, if you have to override the download link in a label or something like that, then you can change the logging level. And maybe you want the debug logging, but you want the script to run fully, then set the logging variable to debug and use that. So, but these are the various different levels, and for some of the MDM scripts, I usually just set it to only the required part, because that is as short as possible. If there's any problems, then I can do that on a few machines and figure that out, and then and send it to everybody else after that. Then we have a logo variable, because we can handle various of these MDM solutions. Then we will know what the name of the management profile is on the system and things like that. Then we can know in Installomator what MDM you are using. And it's not like we are collecting any information about that, but sometimes we want to present a dialogue or something, and then we can use the right mechanism. Then we have this blocking process action that we use. And we can either tell the user, and that means that we will tell you, no, Microsoft Edge needs to be updated. And then you can just click OK, and then we will quit Microsoft Edge for him and wait 30 seconds. And because it's very hard for a script to know whatever has happened in the system, and we have just selected to wait for 30 seconds, and then we're checking again if it's quit, and if it is quit, then we will start the installation procedure. If it is for a browser, then I would usually use tell user then kill, and that is actually that we still tell the user to quit Edge, and we do that 2 times. But the 3rd time, we don't ask anymore. We just kill it and continue. Because in the 30 seconds that we wait in the script, you could actually, the user could start up Edge again. And then we start to test, is it running? And then it is running again. And in the end, we will just kill it. And after a kill, we only wait 2 to 3 seconds before continuing the installation. Previously, in the older version of Installomator, we had prompt user, and that was like, do you want to update or not? And we think that it was better to have it like, if Installomator is running, we need this app to be updated and not blocked by the user. We can ignore if whatever is running when we are installing it, we can quit it. That is a nice way to try to tell the application to quit and have the user saving their files, or we can kill it. Then we have a new variable, prompt timeout. And it is actually because when we are presenting a dialog using AppleScript, we will tell the user, please quit Edge when you click OK here. And if they just don't click anything, then our script would wait for eternity. And that is a long time where your MDM agent cannot do anything. So for some MDMs, it will simply stall the management of the client, and that is not working out very well. So we have set a new variable and set it to that we will wait for 24 hours in this script before doing anything else. That is the default behavior because that was how the old behavior was. So we usually always try to make it compatible in the history. So, but maybe a value of 5 minutes is better if you are pushing this out from Jamf Pro. We do not want to wait too long for the user to respond to these dialogues. Then we have this install variable. And so basically, sometimes we just want to make sure that an app will be fully restored. If the user has changed it, whatever it could be, that there is something with this, then we can make a full reinstallation. And we just give this parameter install equals false to do that. We also built in the mechanism to figure out if an app was previously installed from the App Store. And Slack is one of those apps that you can install from the App Store or from the ordinary Slack web page that we are doing it from. And those two versions are not equal. If you have Slack set up from App Store and you replace it with the other one, then all the Slack communities that you're in will be gone because it's in a different setting file. And so we get in and then we figure this out. How can we see where the app is coming from? If it is coming from the App Store, we will not do anything to it. That will be the default behavior. And this variable in particular is something that people think that we named incorrectly. So I will try to say why we named it like this. But should we ignore that an app came from App Store? So if it was installed from App Store, maybe the user has installed it themselves. Maybe it was previously installed from VPP. But if it was previously installed from App Store, we will not ignore that. So we will skip the app if it's like that. So you have to set to ignore that it is coming from the App Store, because that is a very important thing to know, and set that to yes, because then we will replace the app. I hope that makes sense. Yeah, so at least that was what we thought about it when we named this variable. So we will override it. Good. Then we have something about notifications. These notifications are showed in the flow diagram. What is default is that we will only show the last notification, then we successfully updated your app to this and that version. We can also skip notifications altogether, or we can try to put in quite a few notifications, like we will start downloading the software now, we will start installing now, then it was installed, things like that. And that was actually before we had any support for Swift Dialog, that we wanted to show some kind of progress to the user. If they had clicked in self-service, we wanted them to see somehow that something was going on their computer. Then we have this new variable about do not disturb, and should we ask to quit these apps if the user is already in a meeting. And And since Installomator, before introducing this variable, did not respect any do not disturbs, then we set that as default. So we will be interrupting these apps by default unless you set this and say, no, we should not disturb it. If the current user is in a team meeting, then they will not update it in that time. So what can we use all these variables for? We can combine them for certain kind of situations when we are installing software. So, for instance, if this is just a normal installation of a kind of a software for the user, then I will just use blocking process action to tell user if it's important to let them know. The label will know this and handle it and tell the user. If it's a little more important than just an ordinary app, if it can have some kind of security implications in the system or something like that, then we will use tell user then kill. And if it's a background process or something, then we might not want to show anything about it and just ignore altogether that there could be something, at least if it's from a PKG, and usually it has scripts that will handle it. Also for other apps, we could just kill the service app and then install the one that we want to install. Then we have some kind of a first installation thing. For instance, if a computer has never been managed before and then we make a device enrollment of this device that is already running, maybe we want to reinstall certain apps to make sure that they have just the latest version being reinstalled on their device. So we would use a combination of these variables in order to do that. That will also be shown. I will not show it much from the MDM scripts, but just so you know, that is the first install is something like that, to reinstall these kind of apps in this way. Also, if we are using Swift Dialog to show kind of progress from the self-service page, then we would usually actually just use prompt user. So the user will be prompted, you know, do you really want to install this if you're already running it? And then they can skip it and we don't ask them again. So, but then that requires some kind of initialization, and I will show you just briefly how that is working out. All right, let me try to show you that. Okay, so we have the script here and the MDM scripts. Here it is, good. So for the MDM folder, we have quite a few scripts. There's some of them named with first. So to do that, we can auto install a bunch of labels in one go and replace the ones that are already installed. So we use these Installomator options in this script, so you can now compare it to what I have shown before. We have a script where deb notify is used, so it will be presenting a list of apps and then shown when the progress is done for those. We have a specific script, and just so you know, this is not for Jamf, this is for all the others. I will show Jamf in a minute. But we can install Swift Dialog directly from GitHub with this script, and we can install Installomator directly from GitHub with this script. So I want to show a little detail with Swift Dialog, because in Swift Dialog we can, yeah, that is not in this one, I'm sorry. I have to show you the new versions of these scripts, so that was my mistake here. Here it is. For installing of Swift Dialog, we can include an icon. So if you have a PNG icon of your company or something like that, you can link to it up here. And when you do that and install, then this script will install that PNG in the right folder, and when we install Swift Dialog from the PKG, it will automatically copy that icon in to be the icon of Swift Dialog. So when you are showing notifications afterwards, it will be showing with your logo or whatever icon it is. So, so that is one of the new things with this script. For the other MDM handlings, then you will install maybe a browser or security software, and now you maybe know what it is that I'm referring to, how these Installomator options is set up. This is a normal app, a service app, and we have a specific thing called values from arguments. This is the VFA that I'm referring to here, where you can actually handle these variables manually like this. So it's depending on how you want to install it. If you're testing out a certain thing and you have Installomator installed locally on the machine, then it's hard to sometimes get these out. We are in a little advantage in that situation with the script. So this is really it. Then we have some scripts here that is handled for self-service SS, and if we are handling a normal, this might be a better one. So you need to, when you are using any of these scripts, you need to set what kind of MDM you're using, what the label name is, if you need an icon for this, and then eventually when you fill out this, Swift Dialog will show up in the lower right corner and tell you progress of how this app is actually getting installed. So for self-service, these scripts are really cool if you are also installing Swift Dialog on the computer. Then we have the Jamf script, and we have a script here to install Swift Dialog. So these are very, very precisely named, because when you are making a policy in Jamf Pro, they are Jamf Pro is alphabetically executing the scripts that you are calling. So so we need these scripts to be in Jamf Pro in order to be able to call them correctly and named like this. And here you can see we can also handle this PNG file for the logo to the app. And then you can set a variable here if you want to remove the old icon that was on the computer or not. So, so we will see if there's something already installed in this script. So this is a bit of an improvement. This is not being released yet, but it will be released in version 11. We also have a progress first script down here, and there's no new stuff to that, but this is basically what is Mosyle and Kandji has something, so you don't really need this script in those solutions anymore. But this can show progress if you are automating device enrollment for a Mac, and you do that, then we would like to show some progress to the user that now we are installing this and that and every other thing. So this progress first script will actually just present a Swift Dialog window to the user, listing all the apps and things that needs to be installed, and then it will go through a loop to see if these files have been put into the file system. That's basically just what the script does, but it looks very nice to the user, but it's also annoying if there's some software that is not getting installed, because then it will loop forever. But Mosyle has their own now automated device enrollment system for that. Kandji also has it. I cannot remember the names of those, but so you don't really need this script for those things. Yeah, it's very nice for everything else. It's not useful for Jamf Pro if you want this kind of feature for Jamf Pro, you should use what is called Set Up Your Mac. And there is a guy called Dan Snelson that is using that, if you know anything about that. But yeah. So these are really the MDM scripts that we have made for Installomator, and that will be in this upcoming new version. I have to remember to scale this back. Good. Let's take a look at these troubleshooting logs. And my first example, this is actually posted on the Installomator channel by some person asking us what is actually going wrong in this. And I know it's hard to see, so let's move it a little bit. So here we can see that we are getting some arguments in. We can see that he is running debug mode 1 enabled. So that at least tells us that he has used the script where not removing the debug variable, and he has used 10.5 beta, so he has not downloaded the latest release, and that is why also I wanted to make sure that we know where to get the latest release in this. Then he is setting some variables, and that is all fine. We get a lot of, because we are debug logging, then we can see all the variables that are being set and used, and also being set down here. And what he's actually doing is that he wants to update Adobe Acrobat Reader. He has an app version here, 23.001, and it has found out that 23.006 is the latest version. And there is an update tool, so it will run the update tool, and that will be run with this command. And what happened is that the update tool says there is no new update available for this. So, okay, what I actually forgot to say about here was he was actually setting the debug to 0 in one of the variables. I forgot to say that, sorry about that. But so it actually is running the update tool, and the update tool cannot figure out that there should be an update. And this is also a problem sometimes that we will see in Installomator, is that we will grab the latest version, but if we are calling the update tool, we are no longer really responsible for getting this version. And the way that we are trying to figure out what the latest version might not be correct for eternity, as I also said with this Soho example before. So, but then it's finished, and then it's done, and we will report what the latest version that was, whatever installed version it was. So, and that version was not installed. Yeah, it actually is saying that it is installed, but I think that it was found app over here. Yeah. So there is some mismatch in some of this. Good. Another example, and this might just be a very similar but very simple example. It is based on the package ID for docutil that I showed earlier on. So we will just run it again with a release version 10.4, and there was no version found using package ID, so this is not previously installed on this computer. So that means that we have to do that. It will also guess something strange here, because that is a name variable. If we have not said what else to look for, we will look for the name variable .app. And we all know that docutil is not anything .app, but we don't find it. And that, but it doesn't matter, because that is also a reason why we would want to use package ID in this case. Then we go on and figure out what the latest version are from the GitHub, 3.0.2, and then we download it and we compare it to what is being used here and installing it. And we didn't close it, so we don't reopen it. And if I run this immediately after, then I will get a very short log that will just tell me the latest version was already installed. There's no new version available. So that is a very short cycle. And just to show you what is being shown here, if I turn on logging for debug. So I want everything logged out, even though there's nothing to be installed. You will be able to see all the now I'm pushing the wrong button again. Here it is. Like that, we will see all the variables here coming here, nothing more, and it will find the latest version here and figure out that there is no new version available. And then it will tell me what temporary folder it had created and been removed again. And then that's it. So any questions for me?
Oh, that was quick.
I have just a little...
Thank you, sir.
I was too fast here, but one guy here reminded me about Alan Gordon that was here. The first time that I was on Mac sysadmin, it was with Alan Gordon, because we were both working at in Humac in Denmark at that time. And these are the pictures that I just had of him. So remembering him for some time here. Sure. Thank you.